Sergeant Major of the Army, Daniel A. Daly. Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Ritlewski, reporting. Sergeant Major, you have an interesting quote on your site where it says, arguably, the highest performing squads in our formation are those that are built upon trust. Trust in their leaders and trust in one another. This is the essential element of not in my squad. I'm in complete agreement. Amen. Sergeant Major, there's crazy shit going on in the world that affects you as the highest ranking enlisted man in the United States Army, down to the private, down to your kids, down to your grandkids, even your old man. It affects everybody. And I'm going to show you the proof. So let's begin. The Sin of Omission Classification 1H. Now, what I'm going to be showing you to start with, Sergeant Major, is out of this lady Sharon Rondieu's the post an email, who back in 2010 was asking questions of the Selective Service System about Barack Obama. And because this is kind of hard to read for me, well, let's see what was said. So this is a reply to her from Selective Service. This is a response to your latest Freedom of Information Act regarding President Obama's Selective Service records dated June 18, 2010. In our previous letter, we stated the following. The 1H status assigned to him at the time was not, strictly speaking, a classification. Selective Service has not classified registrants since the draft ended in the mid-70s. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. It was not assigned to Mr. Obama as the result of any action on his part, and there is no related documentation. The formal description of 1H is registrant not currently subject to processing for induction or alternative service. Okay, and this information still stands. Although the postal clerk may in the past have asked the registrant for identification, it would have been a matter of individual initiative. So we're going to point out how just terribly incorrect this is, Sergeant Major, and I need you to go do something about it. For everybody else, hey, I'm Rob Ryder. My email is courtofrecord@aol.com. This is not my phone number right here. Excuse me, I made a mistake. 616-712-6179. September 17th of August, 2018. Please, if you can, please donate, because I really can't even pay for my cable right now, and it could be off today. They're already starting to call. PayPal account is robryder@aol.com. If you sent me a request payment option, which would be send me an email, the donation amount, I can send you an email through PayPal that you can reply to by credit card, electronic check, or whatever else they have. Or there's always the mail. Robert Allen Ritlewski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. 8664. Okay, so what's this thing about this classification 1H? Well, this is what it really says when you go look at the section. It says in section 1630.15, class 1H, registrant not subject to processing for induction. In class 1H shall be placed any registrant who is not eligible for class 1A and is not currently subject to processing for induction. So to get in 1H, you can't be eligible for 1A. Well, what's 1A? Well, this is all out of the CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, 32 CFR, subsection 1630.2. Its source is 47 FR. What is that? Federal Rules 4651, where it says Class 1A available for unrestricted military service. All registrants available for unrestricted military service shall be in Class 1A. Well, then why did they put them in 1H? According to what the Selective Service told this reporter. All right, that everyone. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. And as we'll see, the law clearly says all registrants shall be classified. They're not doing that. They're just pretending to do that. That's the omission. That's the sin of omission, right? It's an omission of a material fact. In federal law, that would be called a crime under 18 United States Code 1001. Okay, here we go. So each registrant shall be classified in one of the prescribed in this part. Well, hey, there it is. All right, that's subsection 1630.2. Each registrant shall be classified in one of the classes prescribed in this part. Not assigned something, classified. There's a way to do it. 1630.10, Class 1A, available for unrestricted military service, all registrants available for unrestricted military service shall be in Class 1A. All registrants in the selection groups, as determined by the Director of Selective Service, are available for unrestricted military service, except those determined by classifying authority to be eligible for exemption or deferment from military service, or non-combatant or non-alternate service, or whom have random sequence numbers, blah, 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 to be considered required to fill calls by Secretary of Defense, Chiefers, Creepers. The point is, right, this classification here, if you're not eligible for Class 1A, then you're not eligible to be in the military, right? So you either have a physical or a mental defect. And I did a video, Sergeant Major, just a couple of videos ago about a lady in a foreclosure where it says in her transcript, the very first sentence by the judicial assistant was, did the judge need the guardianship file? Because if you were in 1H, you would need a guardian because you're not fit for service, right? Even conscientious objectors are fit for service. They just morally choose not to be, or spiritually choose not to be. But here in 1630.12, it says Class 1C, members of Armed Forces of the United States, the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration Health Service, Class 1C. In Class 1C shall be placed every registrant who is or who becomes by enlistment or appointment a commissioned officer, a warrant officer, a paid clerk, an enlisted man, or an aviation cadet of the regular Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, or the Coast Guard, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, or the Public Health Service. So, Sergeant Major, right now, you should be classified 1C by the Selective Service System. Would you please contact them and find out what your classification is? I believe that would be you. Every registrant who is a cadet, United States Military Academy, or midshipman, United States Naval Academy, cadet, Air Force, cadet, all you people, you're all supposed to be 1Cs, but everybody's been classified 1H. The 1A status assigned to him at the time was not, strictly speaking, a classification, right? They didn't do it the right way. However, Selective Service has not classified registrants since the draft ended in the mid-70s. They've not followed the Act, is what that means. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned, not classified, but assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. It was not assigned to Mr. Obama as a result of any action on his part, and there is no related documentation. The formal description of 1H is registrant not currently subject to processing for induction or alternate services. Hey, they changed the title a little bit since then. Okay, so, Sergeant Major, that's the first thing. So give me just 1 second to regroup here, get my other papers together. Okay, Sergeant Major, so a little background on a few of the laws of our nation that they don't necessarily teach anybody, so I don't know if you know these or not, but I'm going to make sure that you do now. Public Law 102-14, March 20, 1991. 105, Stat 44, 105th Congress, Statutes at Large, this must be page 44. Joint Resolution, wherein Congress recognizes the historical tradition of ethical values and principles which are the basis of civilized society and upon which our great nation was founded. Whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization when they were known as the 7 Noahide Laws. Your Congress and George Bush Sr. agree that this country, this nation, is governed by the Noahide Laws, which are the basis of Talmudic law. Not by the Constitution, no, by 7 laws of Noah. Whereas these ethical values and principles, the edifice of civilization stands in serious peril, returning to chaos, whereas society is profoundly concerned with the recent weakening of these principles that has resulted in a crisis that beleaguered and threatened the fabric of civilized society. Whereas the justified preoccupation with these crises must not let the citizens of this nation lose sight of their responsibility to transmit these historical ethical values from our distinguished past to the generations of the future. They want to impose the Noahide laws on you and me. Whereas the Lubavitch movement, that'd be the Zionists, has fostered and promoted these ethical values and principles throughout the world. Rabbi Meacham Mendel Schneerson, leader of the Lubavitch movement, is universally respected and revered, and his 89th birthday falls on March 26, 1991. Whereas in tribute to the great spiritual leader, the Rebbe, this, his 19th year, will be seen as one of education and giving, the year in which return to education and charity, to return the world to the moral and ethical values contained in the 7 Noahide laws. So we're going to impose Jewish law on citizens of the United States. Whereas this will be reflected in the International Scroll of Honor signed by the President of the United States and other heads of state, blah, 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 blah. Well, here's your education, right? What they did is they made you incompetent. They made every male, and probably every female, because that's just the way these people are. They lie, cheat, and steal in everything that they do. Made you incompetent. You're a ward of the state. Everybody has a civil defect, so we don't have any civil rights. As you'll see, they never do any of this paperwork properly, so we're not even really seen in the United States in our full legal name, which according to federal law is your first name, middle name, last name. Okay, here's another part of the problem. It's the Treaty of Peace, which is 8 Stat 80, in which it says in the very first chapter, now this is 1783, Paris, 1783, just after the Revolutionary War, in the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity, and having pleased the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent Prince George III, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, Defender of the Faith, Duke of Brunswick and Luxembourg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince-Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, and of the United States of America. King George III is the King of United States of America. Right? That's a kingdom of King George III's successors. United States of America. Not United States, not the United States of America, where the T is capitalized, but the thing called the United States of America, which is the thing on a passport. Which is different than the Articles of Confederation from March 1st, 1781, where it says the style of the Confederacy shall be the United States of America. The United States of America is on a Federal Reserve note. The United States of America is on a passport. Right? The wealth of the nation has been separated from the people. The wealth is in the republic. All the people are in the democracy. Because the United States is the union of the United States of America and United States of America. And the laws under the Constitution then is the agreement between the parties. Something else we need to keep in mind is in Article 2 of the Legal Code, right? Instructions for the government of the armies of the United States in the field. The very second one, martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation except by special proclamation ordered by the Commander-in-Chief or special mention in the Treaty of Peace concluding the war when the occupation of a place or territory continues beyond the conclusion of peace as one of the conditions of the same. Well, they declared martial law in 1863, Sergeant Major, and I can't find anything anywhere that says it's ever been ceased because of by special proclamation or a peace treaty. We all know there was no peace treaty in the Civil War, and there was no peace treaty in the First World War. It was an armistice. They act like it was, but if you read close enough, they said they never did the peace treaty. So we have a domestic war and an international war ongoing right now. Further evidence of it is go to the Federal Register and put in the term national emergency and see how many hits come up. I did it in my last video. There's been like 2,000 references to national emergencies in the last year. So, you know, if we can all agree, Sergeant Major, that there are people in the world that would take advantage of us, then they're here in America today, and they're doing it to every man and woman that's ever served in the military, been registered to do the right thing. They're not being classified. The law specifically says. In fact, here's the CFR, which I think is interesting. It was updated 15th, 2000. What's today? 17th. That was the day that I did my video. But if we go down here to classification rules, all right, each registrant shall be classified in one or more prescribed, one of the classes prescribed in this part. Class 1A, available for unrestricted military service. That's what we should all be in. Class 1C, well, that's where you should be, Sergeant Major. But according to those that would have you believe different, we're all in Class 1H. We weren't classified by the Act. They just arbitrarily gave it to you. So I went into the Act in much more detail in my last video, which was Uncle Sam ain't released me yet. But just to show a couple of things here that I just think they need to be talked about. All right, let's get rid of some of these things. That can go. Agitation Day can go. I had the Articles of Legal Code, Treaty of Peace. Yeah, it was all of them. Whoa. I don't know if I should be showing this stuff. Okay, so here's a change of address form or change of information form for the Selective Service. And I just wanted to point out on this. See where it says full name? If you were to Google, what's definition of a full name? A personal name or a full name is a set of names by which an individual is known and that can be recited as a word group with the understanding that, taken together, they all relate to the one individual. In many cultures, the term is synonymous with the birth name or legal name of the individual. The academic study of personal names is called anthro something or other. First name, middle name, last name. That's your legal name. Legal name is a name that identifies a person for legal, administrative, and official purposes. A person's first legal name generally is the name of the person that was given to that person for the purpose of registration of birth, and which then appears on a birth certificate. See birth name, yada, yada, yada. But that isn't what they're using on these cards. It says full name, but down here in parentheses, which is supposed to mean, well, it's not really on the form, they have you put your last name, first name, middle name. That's not your full name. It's not my full name, right? But if you do that, that's the way that, to be quite honest, that's the way the Jews would do it. And in English law, when the kings were in charge, the Jews were the king's property, and they took care of his banking and all of his paperwork. It used to be the Catholic Church, but after the Norman invasion, they started kicking the Catholic Church out and replacing it with, the king's property. The Jews made themselves the king's property. And because of that, then it would take the oaths of 4 Christians, or not the oaths of 12 Christians, to overcome the statement of one of the king's Jews. And so if they could get you to sign a paper like this is how they would write. Jews write from right to left. I'm not making this up, right? So forgetting first name, middle name, if it was just your given name, mine would be Robert Allen. It would still be Robert Allen Ritluski if I was reading right to left. But reading left to right, it would be Ritluski Robert Allen. That isn't me. I'm Robert Allen Ritluski. I'm a Gentile, so I'm going to put Robert Allen Ritluski in that box. But that isn't what they do. And then the other thing is, what is the permanent residence address? Right? Because your residence isn't necessarily your house. Your place of residence is a municipality. Your permanent residence address could be, it could be your house. But as I showed on the Michigan change of address for like a identification, when it asks for your residence address, it says street and number, not number and street. And again, these are all in parentheses, so this stuff isn't really here, and no one ever tells us what this is, and so we put in what we've been trained to put, or we believe we've been trained to put, and I don't believe that we're doing it right. But beyond that, they're not doing this whole thing right because they're not classifying anybody. At all. And so in the Act, right, so this is the Act, it was passed in 1980, Section 462, Offenses and Penalties, Imprisonment and Fine. Any member of the Selective Service System or any other person charged as herein provided with the duty of carrying out any of the provisions of this section, of the rules or regulations made or directions given thereunder, who shall knowingly fail or neglect to perform such duty, and any person charged with such duty or having exercising any authority under said title, the said sections, rules, regulations, directions, who shall knowingly make or be party to making of any false, improper, or incorrect registration, classification, physical or mental examination, deferment, induction, enrollment, or muster, or any person who shall knowingly make or be party to making any false statement or certificate regarding or bearing upon a classification or in support of any request for a particular classification for service under the provision of this title, or rules, regulations, or directions made pursuant thereto. Hey, this is really long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. They've committed a crime under 18 U.S.C. 3571. Shall upon conviction in any district court of the United States of competent jurisdiction be punished by imprisonment for not more than 5 years, or fine not more than 10,000, or both, such fine and imprisonment. by an increase to, I believe that'd be $250,000 by 18 U.S.C. 3571. Or, if subject to military or naval law, may be tried by court-martial, and on conviction shall suffer such imprisonment as court-martial may direct. Okay, and there's supposed to be a thing called a registration certificate. Now, when this lady, the reporter, was asking for stuff, I couldn't find this thing on the same source. Bear with me here. It was from her. It was Selective Service back to her. This is a response to your Freedom of Information Inquiry, email May 10th, seeking Selective Service information. This must have been her first one. Enclosed are copies of his registration form and the resultant automated file screen. Well, who wants the file screen? Where's the certificate? Where is the certificate? Mr. Obama did indeed register a Selective Service and was assigned Selective Service number 6111255539-1 on September 4th, 1980. Right? Hey, again, the 1H status assigned to him at the time was not, strictly speaking, a classification. Well, then, strictly speaking, you fucking broke the law. Selective Service has not classified registrants since the draft ended in the mid-70s. Well, in that case, they broke the law. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. What does that classification say for 1H? It says you're not fit for duty. It was not assigned to Mr. Obama as a result of any action on his part. They just did it to it. They did it to everybody. They're not following the law, and they're making everybody a frickin' 1H. And there is no related documentation. There's no evidence to say why you're made a 1H. They just go ahead and do it. The formal description of 1H is registrant not currently subject to processing induction. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. You got all that. All right, give me just 1 second. Okay. Sergeant Major. So, from this lady's online paper here, it was one of these links. I don't remember exactly which one it is, and I'm not going to worry about it right now, but it had on there this right here, registrant file, inquiry report, date 9/9 of 08, page 1 of 1, it's PF22 or PF23 to post, whatever that means. SSS number. Hey, this is for Obama, Barack Hussein. You'll notice he doesn't have a middle name. It's Barack Hussein, right? This is the fallacy. You don't have a middle name. You have a given name. They want you to put what you believe your middle name to be in a middle name box because Social Security, in their definition of legal name, doesn't include the middle name. And they're going to drop it out of your record and cloud the title to your Social Security account. That's all for a different story, but I wanted to point out here, they don't have a permanent address in here. Nobody has a permanent address. If you had a permanent address, then you would be being contacted by your local board to come in and be classified. But they don't give anybody a permanent address. Telephone number, it's got zeros in there. I don't know. They did that on purpose. They got all zeros. Like he doesn't have a telephone number. They take out the Social Security number. So we're not really sure what number they're ever using because they have it covered. Registration date, related SSN, right? It's not related to any Social Security number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-digit number. That don't make any sense. I don't know what related SSN is. See, Sergeant Major, I can't get these kind of questions answered, but I'm hoping you can go put a little pressure on somebody, find out just what the is going on. Class 1H. Verify letter dates. There isn't any, right? They just did it. Doc lock number, right? There's, you know, if somebody knows what that code is, I'm sure there's all sorts of bits of good information in there. But they're doing this to everybody, right? If you were to find your record like this, there's not going to be a permanent address in there. If you're classified 1H, it means you're not fit for military service. Well, the only people that aren't fit, you're either physically or mentally incapable of being in the service. And so I say they have us all rated as incompetent, and that's why they have these, what was the file they called it in Terry's case? They called it guardianship file, which we're going to find out what that is, or it's all over. But okay, sorry, I got to go grab some more papers. Okay, Sergeant Major, I'm sure you remember your oath to office, but for those that don't know what it is, it would be, I state your name, Robert Allen Ritlewski, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations, Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. I will obey the orders of the President of the United States. So we should see what his orders are. And that's what we're going to do. Okay, Sergeant Major, in a minute, I'm going to be talking about the President and the Congress. And just so you know, none of these people are who they say they are. They could be, but they're not because they haven't complied with the law. And in the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States, it says that list who has to. I should have pulled it up, but I didn't. They need to take an oath to support the Constitution. Well, if you go to Article 2 for the President, in that oath, it doesn't say anything about supporting the Constitution. Protect and defend, yes, but not support. Specifically, Article 6 says support the Constitution. And so, after the Constitution was ratified, the very first law they passed is called 1 Stat 23, right, from the Statutes at Large, First Congress, page 23. That's the very first thing they did, very first act of the first Congress. Passed at the first session, which was begun and held in the city of New York, and continued. Who was there? George Washington, President, John Adams, Vice President of the United States. It's funny, they don't say what George Washington is president of, but they say John Adams is vice president of the United States. And president of the Senate, and Frederick August Muhlenberg, Speaker of the House of Representatives. The act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths. Section 1, being enacted by the Senate and representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, United States of America, United States of America in Congress assembled. Well, who's the United States of America owned by? That'd be King George III and his successors. Being enacted by the Senate and representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, the oath or affirmation required by the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following to wit. I, state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. The said oath or affirmation shall be administered within 3 days after the passing of this act to any one member of the Senate, to the President of the Senate, and by him to all the members and the Secretary and the Speaker of the House, representatives, on and on and on and on and on. Then if you get down here far enough into it, where does it talk about just doing it to everybody? Maybe it's right here. Okay. After every general election, the representatives, their oath of affirmation aforesaid shall be administered by one member, so all of them have to do it. The President of the Senate, for the time being, shall be also administered the said oath. That all members of the several state legislatures at the next session, all executive and judicial officers of the several states who have been chosen, and all officers appointed or hereafter to be appointed under the authority of the United States shall before they act in their respective office have taken the same oath. All these people need to take this oath. Nobody's doing it. Show me the form that complies with exactly what 1 Stat 23 said. They don't exist. However, that's today. I don't know that they didn't in the past. Right now, they don't. Nobody has a proper oath of office or a proper bond. The judges sitting in courtrooms aren't using their full legal name. They don't have a proper oath of office. They don't have a proper bond. The people pretending to be the legislature, they are using the middle initial name. They're not using their full legal name, right, in legal matters. 6 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, Part 37, the Real ID Act, it defines what to use for identification. They say it's your full legal name. First name, middle name, last name. No initials. None of it's happening. But we got to work with what we have in writing. And so here's the act, the Military Service Act, an act to provide for common defense by increasing the strength of the armed forces of the United States, including the reserve components thereof, and for other purposes. To put a civil defect in your file. That's got to go, Sergeant Major. We're not being seen in the United States. We can't maintain an action in a court because we have a defect. Right? They're saying we're not competent to be in the military. So they have to be our guardians, whoever they are. This act may be cited as a Military Selective Service Act. The Congress declares that adequate arm strength must be achieved and maintained. The Congress declares that in a free society, the obligations and privileges of serving in the armed forces and reserve components therefore should be shared generally in accordance with the system of selection in fair and just, which is consistent with the maintenance and effect of national economy. Blah, 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 blah. Registration. Every male citizen of the United States and every other male person residing in the United States who, on the day or days fixed for the first or any subsequent registration, is between the ages of 18 and 26 to present himself, da-da-da-da-da. Right? So there it is. Now they're just waiting for the president to, issue a proclamation. And Jimmy Carter did. Proclamation number 4771, July 2nd, 1980. Amended by Proclamation 7275, February 22nd, 2000. Military Selection Service, as amended, 50 U.S.C. App 453, provides that male citizens of the United States and all other males residing in the United States who are between 18 and 26, except those exempted by Section 3, must present themselves for registration at such time and places as, and in such manner as determined by the President. Well, what did the President determine? Sergeant Major, could you please find out? Because I can read this thing and say, okay, well, here's the proclamation. This is the manner of registration. When reporting for registration, each person shall present for inspection reasonable evidence of his identity. After registration, each person shall keep the Selective Service informed of his current address. So anybody who's ever changed their address and didn't contact Selective Service, well, they're wrong. But it says shall present for inspection reasonable evidence of his identity. Well, what did the lion, snakes in the grass say when we started out with this thing with Obama? What did they say about Obama? Has not classified registrants since draft ended in the mid-70s. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone. Close to these. I'm getting lost in all this stuff. They said he didn't. I got to find the part about his identification. That's what I was looking for. Where was that at? It's in the picture. Sorry, Sergeant Major, just give me a minute. In response, assign Selective Service number. However, at times, not assign, action as part, no related documentation. Okay, hey, it was right here, June 25th, 2010. Although postal clerks in the past may have asked registrants for identification, it would have been a matter of individual initiative. Regardless, all files are eventually matched against records provided by Social Security Administration, and the Social Security doesn't use your middle name as your legal name. So, that would mean then is right here where it says, when reporting for registration, each person shall present for inspection reasonable evidence of his identity. If the person doing the registration isn't asking for it, they broke the law. Hey, he's the President of the United States of America. I wonder if that means anything. Persons liable for training and service. I'm just about done, Sergeant Major. I just wanted to point a couple things out, and I'm going to finish this up. Provided, so this is Section 454 of the Act, provided that each registrant shall be immediately liable for classification. What is immediately liable? They're ordered to be classified. That's what it means. Each registrant shall be immediately liable for classification and examination, and shall, as soon as practical following his registration, be so classified and examined, both physically and mentally, in order to determine his availability for induction, for training, and service in the armed forces. That's pretty cut and dried. You have to be classified, and they're not doing it. They're just pretending. And as it turns out, there are military officers that are part of this. So, Sergeant Major, there's people within the family to go talk to get it worked out. We don't need Congress. We need the military to take care of this. Right? Because you've been ordered by the president to be classified. And they have not properly classified you yet. Okay, Sergeant Major, I'll leave it here with, we'll just look at administration of the classification, because that's where this is all hanging right now, is what's going on with that. Where it says, classification authority, the following officials are authorized to classify registrants into the indicated classes established in Part 1630 of this chapter. And so somebody's made us all 1Hs. Well, who could have done that? The Director of Selective Service may, in accord with the provisions of this chapter, classify a registrant into any class for which he is eligible, except 1-AO, which is a conscientious objector, 1O, 2D, 3A, 4D, right? So he could do it. The National Selective Service Appeal Board may, in accord, classify a registrant into any class which he is eligible. So we have National Selective Service Appeal Board to go to. A District Appeal Board may, in accord with Part 165, or 1651, jeepers. 1651 of this chapter, classify a registrant into any class which he is eligible. They could do it. And a local board can classify into these for which he is eligible. A local board may also classify a registrant into 1C, which is where we should be if you're in the military. Claim for other than Class 1A. Don't really know. Except as otherwise expressly provided by the Director, no document relating to any registrant's claim or potential claims will be retained by the Selective Service System, and no file relating to the registrant's possible classification status will be established prior to the registrant being ordered to report for induction. We're not going to have any paper that shows that we made them a 1H. We're not going to have a certificate. Sorry, Major, you got to go do something about this. Right? Assignment of a registrant to a local board. A registrant is assigned to the local board that has jurisdiction over his permanent address that he last furnished Selective Service System prior to the issuance of his induction order. Well, again, I don't know how we would get a copy of one of these. Sorry, Major, you can probably just call the person outside your office to get you a copy, and they'd know what to do. But right, there's no permanent address, so no one's going to contact you from a local board to have you come in and do the part you're supposed to do. Right, that's an omission of a material fact. What's your permanent address? This is saying that you're not in the United States. There's no permanent address. You may have a current address, but it doesn't mean you're here legally. It just means you're here. What is your permanent address in the United States? That needs to be determined. Come on, thing. Okay, and I wanted to find something before I forget. Federal. There shall not be less than one appeal board located within the area of each federal judicial district. This is the important part of this, is we need to be registered in a permanent address within a federal judicial district to be recognized in the United States and to be protected by the Constitution. This has to do with everything from the postal system to every other little devil in the detail, where the devil is today, causing the problems we're dealing with. We're not being recognized in the federal judicial district. It's like we've been taken across the sea into King George III's jurisdiction, the United States of America. And so if you went to court, it wouldn't say you were in Kent County, Michigan. It would say you're in County of Kent, State of Michigan. Well, County of Kent and Kent County aren't the same, and Michigan, State of Michigan aren't the same. They're different venues sharing the same territory between these two entities, the United States of America and United States of America, who formed a union under the Constitution to both, live and let live. That's not the stuff they teach in school, but hey, and that's what the paper shows. So I don't know what else to say at this point. I just hope you can do something, Sergeant Major. I'm counting on the military. I've been trying all these other yahoos, but I've not had any luck, Sergeant Major. So if you would, please, Sergeant Major. The highest performing squads in our formation are those that are built upon trust. Trust in their leaders and trust in one another. This is the essential element of not in my squad. Well, to all your squads now in the field, they need to be told immediately that they've been classified 1H and are unfit for military duty. To lay down their weapons and head back to the tent. You need to send them all home or fix the fucking records. Okay. Godspeed, Sergeant Major. I'm counting on you.